seller, a house flipper, a businesswoman, a go-getter, a big investor, a goal builder that could teach you to get richer like millions, baby. You really about to fill your savings. You about to have multiple streams to pass your children, baby. Let me teach you to get your credit on track in the long run. You'll make it all back at Catalyst and watch it all cycle on your black gold firm, but we ain't all black.
What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Constance Carter. It's Money Monday on the Grow Your Money Club. Everybody, you guys come in. Hurry up and come in because I got some stuff I got to talk to you about today, and it's really, really important. So I need you to go tell your friends, go tell your family, go tell your mama, go tell your daddy, your cousin, your auntie, and everybody else, because I have some really important information I want to share with you today about your life. And this is literally life or death. This is life or death situations. And so these are important conversations that we need to have inside of our community, because a lot of times we're just simply not prepared. It's not just that we think that, you know, if we're going to die, it's a matter of when we're going to die. And we're all going to die one day. We got to get our affairs in order. And I want to talk to you guys about a cautionary tale of people who have gotten their affairs in order, but things still fell through the cracks. But before we do that, y'all know this is a dialogue and not a monologue. And so what does that mean? That means I want you to talk back to me and talk black to me. What does that mean? If you are in the comments, and hey, yo, listen, I don't normally go live on Instagram, but I want you guys to meet my good girlfriend, Tanisha. So if you guys, if you're on Instagram, what's up, everybody? If you want to see your comments, or if you have a question that you want to ask, that you want to have on the screen, come over to YouTube at I Am Constance Carter, and so that you can interact. Otherwise, you can continue just watching live on Instagram as well. Okay. But I always like to shout everybody out every time I come live. I don't want to take too much time doing that, but I like to see who I'm talking to, because like I said, this is a dialogue and not a monologue. So I just want to see where you're watching from, because I know we have people that watch from all over the world. Are you watching? What's up? Fancy Ferg. Where are you watching from? I know we have people that watch from London, people that watch from Australia, China, Africa, Chicago, DC, California, Las Vegas. So just put in the comments where you're watching from. And again, if you are watching on Instagram, because I see we have a few people on Instagram. Yeah, we got about 20 folks on Instagram. If you're watching from Instagram and you want to put your comment on here, come over to YouTube. Go to YouTube / I Am Constance Carter, and you could be live on there as well. So listen, y'all, I'm gonna get right to it. I have this good girlfriend. I grew up with her. Actually, let me bring her in, and then I'm gonna bring her on, and then I'll explain to you about who she is in my life and how we're friends. So it's my girl Tanisha. What's up, T?
Hey. I'm so happy to be here and be here with you. Hey, girl.
Okay, so Tanisha. Okay, so let me just tell you guys about Tanisha. I've known Tanisha. Tanisha, we've known each other about 35, 40 years. Tanisha and I went to high school together, but we met before high school because she used to come to our church with Marquita. So we were like junior high school, right?
With my best friend. So yes, I didn't go to your junior high school.
But you used to come to the church when we were
Macedonia. I used to come to Macedonia with Brenda and Marquita. Yes.
Macedonia Missionary Baptist Church. Shout out to Macedonia Missionary Baptist Church in Milpitas, California.
Yes, absolutely. And now my home church was Emmanuel, though.
EBC in the house, Emmanuel Baptist Church in San Jose, California. I ended up going there when I was a teenager. Yes, Emmanuel. Yes. And Tanisha, fun fact, Tanisha also is a singer. I wish I should have did it. So Tanisha, we used to have a group called Rapture. And yes. Tanisha was the lead singer in the group Rapture. Tanisha can blow. Do you hear me? This girl is bad. And we had her and two other girlfriends. I was the bass player, and people used to call us Tanisha and the Raptures. You remember that, T? Tanisha and the Raptures.
Tanisha and the Raptures.
But as we grew up, we went to high school together. We went to Piedmont Hills High School in San Jose. And Tanisha just was like, okay, let me just tell you this. So Tanisha, she looking all studious today. But Tanisha used to be a thug-esque.
I'm still a thug.
She wasn't really a thug, though. She was she just looked like a thug. She was a faux thug, FAUX.
Yes.
She was a faux thug. So
Yes.
she looked the part, but she was actually really smart. So Tanisha was very well read. She okay. This is what I used to do, and I used to tell you this. I always told Tanisha how smart she was. I always knew how smart she was. She was a reader. She used to read books, and I remember
Still do.
you still read a lot.
I'm still reading and listening now.
I would be with Tanisha. And the other thing is, we love to have fun and laugh at everybody. That's what we used to do at Emmanuel. We used to laugh at everybody. We used to laugh. Just, all we had to do was look at each other and we would die laughing in church. But she would say things, and I wouldn't even say nothing to her. I'd just be listening because I don't have an extensive vocabulary like her. And I would put it in my mind, and then I would go home. This is before the internet, and I would go look up what she said in the dictionary, and then incorporate what she said to ensure that I was saying it correctly. That's why I looked it up in the dictionary. So she would just say these words that I didn't know, and then I would listen, and then I would go look them up, like, okay, what does this mean? And then I would. So Tanisha is super duper smart. She just looked like a thug, right? So she had her nose
Yeah.
ring, tongue ring, she tattoos, like
Tattoos, nails.
why were you so damn rebellious, Tanisha? And then I'm gonna tell you about her mama and her daddy in a minute, but she was so freaking rebellious. Why were you so rebellious?
Right. Honestly, I didn't see it as rebellion. My parents, looking back on it, they fostered independent thinking. When you raise a reader, right? When you raise a child who is a latchkey kid from six and an only child, you become an independent thinker by default.
Mhm.
So, um, to me, I feel like I always liked expression. One of the things that was different about me than my parents, though, is that because they were very conservative, it was taboo to be different. So different was a little tough for them. So to me, I didn't see it as rebellion. I saw it as, okay, these are the things that set me apart, and these are the things that I saw in other people that I simply liked. So I loved it. I just loved the look.
Well, I will tell you that I worked with her mom at HP. Her mom was one of my first mentors, and her mom was a brilliant Black woman. And we worked in the C suite in HP. We worked up there with the CEO of HP and in the with the executives. And her mom was a mover and a shaker. And I was fortunate enough to work for her mom, work in the same department as her mom. And she was brilliant, brilliant Black woman. But I will tell you, even though you didn't think you were rebellious, your mama thought you was rebellious.
Oh, listen,
I worked with her mama. Your
I gave
mom,
my mama the blues.
because
Hmm.
your mom was so, and your mom and your dad were so conservative. They're so A-type personalities, so driven, and you
Yes,
just kind of marched to the beat of your own drum.
I
You just
did.
kind of did what the hell and it drove them bananas.
Yes,
The type
yes.
of men that you
I,
like, what you like to do, the music you listen, like everything was the antithesis. And this is probably a
yes,
word that I learned from you of your parents, of your
yes,
upbringing, right?
yes. It was the antithesis. Yes. And you know what? There was a definite divide between us, not just in the way that I operated. It was also in the way that um, I decided to operate in my feelings about it. Because, yes, I understand that it felt rebellious to my parents, and it was rebellious. It was rebellious. It was rebellion because I was doing things against what they asked me to do. That's just pure rebellion. However, the way that I decided to live my life was simply because of the structure that was placed in front of me. Um, I weighed my consequences all the time, all the
And
time.
you weighed your consequences, and what were the results of your consequences?
Well, I was grounded a lot. Um,
Woo! Hey,
I
hold
was,
on. One time, so we were a gospel singing group.
Mhm.
And we would come home from our engagements and Tanisha would be so scared because her mom would be looking out the window.
No,
And
we would be so scared.
yeah,
Don't.
well, you were like, "Can you come in with me?" I was like, "Not today."
Not never. No, none of the days when you would drop me off. You mean and burn out?
I
Walk with me, still walking up my driveway because nobody was
saw
gonna
your
do it
mama.
in the
I saw
house.
your mama slam that curtain. I was like, "I'm out."
But
But
that's what
now,
I mean about accepting my consequences. The thing is that um, when you have time to think about what the outcome, what the expected outcome is for yourself versus what it's going to cost you, that's what I mean by the acceptable outcome. There were times that, yeah, I know my mom's going to be mad, so forgiveness rather than permission. And that is a that's a tough way to raise a child. You see, now I understand as a grown woman, and after losing my mother, those are the things that I do think about is my childhood and how that shaped, even going into our topic, how that shaped her financial decisions, how she
mm.
helped me financially because of the maturity that I did or did not display.
So that, and that's a good segue because I do, if we may, I want to talk about. I think your story is pretty fascinating, Tanisha, because I've been there, on the front row watching all this time,
Mhm.
um, and I've always kept in contact, and I've always reached out. Like we've never lost contact, not for too long. You moved, shit, I don't know, you moved so many different places, but I know you moved to Houston, you
Mhm.
moved to Vegas, Houston, you moved back to Vegas, but you moved somewhere else in California too. Like you went missing. Did you move to Sacramento or something? Like,
I did. So I love that you bring that up because that's one of the things that I typically don't think about because it was now I understand it to have been a traumatic time. But yes, right after I had my first daughter, I had Josiah, um, and then I got pregnant with Jason and I moved to Sacramento. That's
yeah,
when I went missing. Let me just tell you this though. What the real situation was that I had made a choice that I knew that my mother was not going to be okay with. So I left during a time where there wouldn't be any conflict. That's what
mm.
you do when you're scared of your mom is you leave while she's gone. So I actually moved out. I had been staying there for a couple of months with my daughter, and I moved out during the day while she was at work with you, I believe.
Mm. Mhm.
And I moved to Sacramento because I was pregnant and I was afraid to tell her.
You had your mama stressed the fuck out. I do remember that. She would be at work stressed the hell out. And yeah, we did work together at the time. And so this is actually going to lead into the topic because I do want to. You guys had such a different type of relationship. Everything was so different, and you made choices, Tanisha. And hopefully this is okay to share. You made choices to
Yeah.
live a lot differently than how you were raised, right? And so
Yes.
you moving and you running, and your mom is this very, and your dad, your parents were very financially stable. They had they shit together. They had these great jobs. And when they passed, they both passed away. They left you some things, and we're going to talk about it. But you chose a path that was a lot different than how you were raised. And
Mm.
you and I were talking last week, and you raised your children very differently, and you chose a certain lifestyle based upon how you were raised. Just talk about that a little bit because I think that's
Mhm.
important.
So yes, as we were talking about last week, I definitely raised my children different than what I was raised. And what is so interesting is um, yes, I was very different than my parents. And I did choose a different way of life. And I think the way of life that I chose was more was focused more on things that my parents were um, not even just privy to, because it was my emotional life, but they did not have the option to do that. People in that generation did not have the option to entertain feelings, right? So then they have this kid who is all the feelings. I feel all the feelings. And I want to be loved. I want to be nurtured. I want to be rooted on. I want to be all of these things. But um, what I learned very early is that I had to depend on myself for the smaller decisions. So when you do that with a child, you leave the smaller decisions to them, then they start making bigger decisions, right? So I really feel like that's where it originated. I always was a different type of person in general, very creative. I love music, I love art, I love people. I'm very feeling. Um, if I were into astrology, I would be a Cancerian. So those are some of the qualities that people talk about, which is very different than the two people that I was raised with. My mother had her own trauma. My mother was um, she was raised by two parents for a while, but with trauma, she then became the product of a single mother as well, who raised a lot of kids, 9 children, two of which were not biologically hers. So the dynamic there, I think, shaped my mother. But being that I didn't have that, I had all love. I grew up in love. I grew up, my parents wanted me. My parents planned me. They graduated college. They um, had an apartment. They were married. They bought a home. And now that I go back over all the paperwork, I realize the ages that they did this, that they were doing this with intention. And I think as a young person, I got all of the benefits of that. I got all the benefits of them wanting me to read books. As you can see, there's books behind me. There's all the activities and all the other stuff. But I still wanted the personal part of it, the part that they were not comfortable giving.
The love.
So the love. And I don't mean that they didn't want to give me that, because they did, and they showed me what they could. But presence wasn't the priority.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are by yourself and you have other influences,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is where you decide for yourself who you're going to be. And that's where I decided who I was going to be, which was a feeling person. So I decided that what was important to me was a different measure of success, um, which is,
What did that look like for you? What was your different measure of success? And how was that different from your parents?
well, honestly, both of
For
them did
real.
not come from money.
Yeah.
So they decided to pour themselves into their career. Now, keep in mind, they started their careers with no children, right? So they did the college experience. They went, my mother's, I think her first job was at Stanford University after graduating college at San Jose State. So they decided for themselves very early that they were going to pour themselves into their careers to be able to be financially stable. But when they had me, they gave me all the feeling, all the love, all the books, all the I love you, Nisa. I love you. I love you. I love you. They gave me all of that. Um, and that's what I loved. That's what I gravitated toward. So when I started getting older and it started getting into academics and it started getting into, okay, now you got to prove yourself now. Now you got to, that was too much of a jump for me. I still wanted you to be happy, feely, like I love my niecey, and I did good, right? No. this is where it kicked in, because now they started feeling like, okay, you got to get your own. So you got to establish your own foundation. You have to establish the way that you're going to go through school and become successful and become your own person. But I didn't put anything into that.
How's that different than
Nothing.
how you raise your kids, though?
Um, it's different because I understood the emotional part of it early. So I understood that I didn't want them to feel less than if they didn't measure up.
Is that
And
how
when
you
I
felt?
say measure, yes, that's how I felt. I felt that love, of course, was conditional, only because that's how it presents to our children, because we present happy when you do what we want you to do, and we present mad when you don't, right? So the way that I operated was I understood what was good by how my parents treated me. I understood what was okay. And then once I couldn't do that, keep in mind, I'm a creative, so math isn't my thing, right? Math and science was never my thing. Once you start getting into the things that require intellect, that's when my parents started panicking because I wasn't showing what they would want me to show. Just like we talked about with my intelligence. The intelligence was always there. Did I apply it?
Yeah. And you were easily influenced because let me tell you this. I was a senior in high school and I only had 2, 3 classes. And I used to be like, hey, we finna go to Denny's. Tanisha had 6 classes.
Nations. It was nations. It was
Oh,
nations.
we about to go to Nations. I didn't actually, I would just nod my head to her. You ready?
Yep. Let's go.
So that kind of shit that you did, I'm sure it drove your parents crazy because you was not doing what the hell you supposed to be doing.
I did whatever I wanted to do.
You did whatever you wanted to do. And you had parents who were very academic minded and you was like, I'm just going to do what I want to do. And I'm going to go and I'm going to talk to him that my parents absolutely despise. It was like everything that they wanted for you, I'm going to go get the opposite. The guys that you like were like
Total opposite.
if your mama could send them to hell and have the
She would
devil
have.
ride their back personally, like those
She
are the
would
kind
have.
of those are the kind of guys that you chose. It was like,
Yes.
this is what you like. This is what I'm gonna choose. Like you were that person, and it
Well,
was
but let me tell you why though. Let me tell you why, because I've actually thought about this a lot lately. And it's become a conversation with my oldest daughter, Josiah, because she is, happily married, and she's living in a way that's that honors her husband, that honors me, that honors motherhood, that honors the Most High.
you a
Um,
granny
and
too. Go ahead,
and I'm a granny,
go ahead.
and I'm a granny.
I love it.
Clock it. Um, but we're having this conversation because what I'm understanding now is that I I was never actually taught what to do
What do you mean?
when it comes to the navigation of life, the navigation of life, the navigation of dating, the navigation of the school system. What I've learned is that what I gave to my children in taking off work and going down to the school and being part of a process,
Being present.
being present, or allowing my child to date and have them come to the house. Like, I want you to be in the living room because I want to see how you date. You see,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm realizing is that I didn't have that. So in the absence of instruction, am I wrong?
No, no, you did the best that you knew how. You were trying to figure it out. And you did that before your prefrontal cortex was developed. You did that as you were trying to figure out who you were. So no, you weren't.
And those are the things that I think about now, because as a mother, and losing my mom and seeing who I was versus who I became, um, and who we were at the point of her death, um, there's so much there's so much sorrow,
Mm,
so much sadness for the fact that we didn't know each other. We didn't know each other. Who she knew was who disappointed her many
mm,
years ago. And so, um, even piggybacking on the financial aspect, my mother and my father did not come from money. They were both in situations that they decided for themselves that they were going to work hard and they were going to save their money. And that's what they both did. They came together and they both did that. Um, but one thing that I can definitely see in that is that they decided for themselves what was important very young,
mhm,
together,
mhm,
without the pressure of having to learn themselves and teach another human being how to be.
mm,
So there was no way for us to come together in that, in terms of my life versus theirs, because my life changed, on course very, very early. I was pregnant and had Josiah at 20 years old. So I was 19 years old pregnant, had her at 20. That changes what decisions you make, no matter what. And because I had disappointed my parents, I did not have the benefit of their help.
mm. That and you so you have well-off parents, financially stable parents,
Yes.
and
And I
here
was
you
not.
are with children having to struggle, like really, really struggle.
Hmm. Yes.
How was that for you?
Honestly, because I didn't know anything different, I just knew that this was, again, a consequence of my decision.
You knew different because you didn't grow up in struggle.
Right. No, no, no. I didn't know anything different in terms of my parenthood journey. So
Mm,
with my mother, I knew from getting pregnant that my life was going to look different.
mm. I ain't
I
helping.
knew that.
I'm not
My
helping.
mom wouldn't even let me in her house. I wasn't living with my mother when I got pregnant with Josiah. So
Mhm.
my mother wouldn't even let me walk into her screen. She talked to me through the screen door. And
Oh.
my mother told me, I believe, matter of fact, I think I went over there to Gilchrist a little bit after that.
That was another
Um,
apartment up the street.
yes, up the street. Because my mother said I had nothing to offer a child, that there would be no reason for me to have a child. Why would you do that? So I knew I was not going to have that help, and that was okay.
So then, okay, you have Josiah, then you have Jason, and then you get married, and you have
Hmm.
Jada,
Hmm.
and you are still, struggling a little bit. Your mom's still building. She's out in Vegas. You move in Houston, and you're struggling in Houston. Your mom got
Hmm.
bread. You decide to move back to Vegas. Why'd you decide to
Mom's
move back?
always had bread.
Mom always had bread from the beginning to the end, literally,
Hmm.
always.
Yes.
Um, so what made you decide to move back to Vegas? Well, I will say this
Um,
too. Tanisha has had a lot of death. So both of her parents passed away like
and my partner,
4 or 5 of your
yeah,
partners. How many of your men passed
yeah.
away?
I'm
Like,
not laughing at them. It's just, it is very alarming. So,
and it's not like they died from gunshots. It's like health shit, right? They didn't
well,
die from gangbanging.
one did die of gunshot. That was
Okay.
Lewis.
All right.
Um, yes, so he was murdered in 2020.
Right. That's
And
when you moved back.
health issues have taken, they took Josiah's dad. Cedric, unfortunately passed from diabetes related complications. Um, Tree, Thomas Roundtree, he just passed in 22. Um, we're still
I thought he had
we're
a heart attack.
still
Y'all don't know how he died. I thought he had a heart attack. No. Oh shit.
that's
Okay.
what's being said, but we'll put a pin in that.
But there was another one that you had that died too. Another boyfriend that you had that died before.
Billy,
Who? Yeah.
Billy died.
Yeah.
And again, I hate to say it like this, but like it wasn't on my watch.
No, no. Most of them died when you weren't even with them. You weren't even with these guys when they
After,
died. Yeah. Yeah.
long after I was with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but even with that, dealing with all of this loss in the last 5 years, it has
Yeah.
been that's what brought me back here. So Lewis was murdered in 2020, in May of 2020. I moved back here. I left Houston in August of that same year, and I spent a year here with my dad. My dad passed in 2021. Um, and then Thomas, and then my mother. So one of the things that I have been trying to help myself understand is that it rewires your brain.
What do you
Grief
mean?
rewires your brain. There's a fog that a lot of people are able to enjoy. I hate to say it that way, but it feels kind of like there are other people, if you know what I'm saying, that are allowed to grieve healthily. And because we keep moving, just like with my mom, my parents, um, I know you remember this, but my parents weren't always together.
Hmm. That was most of our high school
So
years.
most of our high school years, right? So they went apart and they came back together. One of the things that I do see though that really affected them was the fact that they nobody grieves. Nobody feels the actual grief. So nobody took any time off work. There was no counseling. We just don't talk about it, just move on. And that's how I have also processed
Mm-hmm.
um, trauma, is just to work. So just like when we were talking and you didn't know that I stayed at home, well, why didn't you work? Just because you're at home. Well, I didn't work because I took my appointed time. I'm
Mm-hmm.
taking my appointed time. I'm taking all of my time because I never grieved. Um, I was in training for a new job when my father passed, and I stayed in that training. And I took a day off to attend the funeral that I planned for my father. And then I went back to work the next day. And that was actually Father's Day weekend of
Mm.
2021.
Wow.
It wasn't brought to my attention that I never mourned until I actually got into therapy this time.
Mm.
It was an FMLA specialist that told me, hey, 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 slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down. We're going to take more than the 7 days of bereavement and we're going to address what you're feeling because this is what causes the spiral. This is how you don't end up handling your business
Mm.
because your mind is so clouded, whether it be grief, whether it be anger, whether it be whatever the situation is that you feel, because there's complex feelings that come up during death, especially if you have a complex relationship like myself and my mother. Um, but there's still business to be handled.
Was there regret for you?
Oh, lots.
What's the
Still.
what's the regret?
Um, Personally, I would say that my biggest regret is not pushing past shame.
Really?
for me.
Even current day.
Current
Your
day.
kids are grown. All of your kids is grown.
All of my children are grown, 28, 27, and 22.
And you
Hmm.
still felt the guilt and the
Oh
shame.
goodness. Every time I came over to my mother's house,
Really?
every time. It was very hard to be alone with her. And let me tell you why. It's not because she was mean. It's not
Right.
because of that. It's because of um it's because of the dynamic. So some people have a dynamic with their parents that they are at ease with talking to them, right? It's not always a serious conversation, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, with only children, with a parent that doesn't joke, everything you say is on record.
Oh shit.
So, and I don't mean this for every only child, I mean this for me with Valerie. Um, there was a point to a conversation. We were not talking just to talk.
Y'all wasn't
We're
shooting.
not, I was never one of my mama little friends.
You know the crazy thing is, I was one of your mama's little friends.
You are my mama's almost favorite friend.
I loved your
Yeah.
mama. Damn.
And my mom loved you. And here's the thing. You remember when I used to tell you like you're the niecey my mama wanted. Now,
So
we're
my
both
nickname is
nieces.
Niecy. Her nickname is Niecy.
Right. Right. So I'm niecey N-E-C-I and you're niecey
Right.
N-I-C-E-Y.
Mhm.
And my mother sometimes would write N-I-C-E-Y on some of my personal things. Now, keep in mind, because we're friends, it didn't bother me like that, but it let me know. Remember, I used to say to you,
Did you
you're the niecey that she wanted. You're the child that she wanted.
did you resent me for that?
Girl, I wouldn't have been able to talk to you if I resented you.
Okay, okay,
I
okay.
don't
I
I
see.
don't hide well.
Well, we
I
never
don't
we
hide
never had
nothing well.
no, we never had no issues, but people could be having some kind of feelings about that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We ain't, but you've never minced your tongue with me. You've never minced words with me. So we've never not
No.
said what we mean, what we meant. You
No,
know,
no, no, no. And there's never been any resentment. But I've always said it matter of factly, and I meant that. And then
you
and
said it
it's only
jokingly though, so I just used to just laugh, like, girl,
well, it used to sound probably like a joke,
yeah,
but it was just a knowing.
mm,
And so for me, I very young, there was a knowing once I had kids, because I had kids and I was still a kid, right? So
mhm,
there's a knowing that I will never this part of life I've already skipped. I can't be that. It's already gone. What you had, remember, we went to your wedding.
mhm,
You did things the right way.
mhm,
Even without college, you did everything that my mom um, felt would benefit a person and put them in a great path of success for later on in life. And she knew that and she saw that and she saw your drive. Nisi, you were the only person at Piedmont Hills High School walking around with a briefcase,
don't
right?
tell nobody that. People think I'm a thug. What are you talking about?
Crazy. This
Talking.
thug, look, this thug was like walking around with a cello, like literally.
Cello. I was in the orchestra and on the honor roll, but I also fought too. I was a
You
fighter.
also fought. You also had brass knuckles.
So
So
beat ass.
here's the shift. Here's the shift, right? You could be this and you could be that all at the same time.
Oh my God.
And that's what my
Whew.
mother loved about you. Me, It was it was a totally different experience. Also because academically, I wasn't the best in school. Of course, I've always graduated everything. I've always done what I was supposed to do. Even in later on in life, doing other endeavors like taxes and all those other little things. But my mother knew the path, and she knew that you had to come out of your emotions to do it. And because I was not that person, and she knew I just wasn't that person, she poured into other people. And I
She
was
just wanted
okay
the
with that.
best for you. She wanted, yeah, she wanted you to be doing specifically what she wanted you to do. And when you didn't, you know,
It
she,
was just
yeah, that's
well,
unfortunate.
and to be fair, that makes sense though. To be fair, that makes sense because when you know your kid,
Mm,
like we all, now that I have more than one child, right? I didn't have any reference. You guys were my friends, you were my
mhm,
family.
mhm,
So I didn't know anything other than my siblings at school.
mhm.
Um, but now I see that if you do not instruct your children to understand that you can fall and you can get back up at this point, right? You don't just throw the baby away with the bathwater.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, because I tried her emotionally so much, I touched that vulnerable spot of her to the point where she turned it off. It was too much.
Wow.
And I understand that now as a parent, because I have to consciously not I have to consciously push that button away. You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I have to consciously say to myself that it is more important for me to have relationship with my
Mm,
children
right. So you
than
forfeited a lot of things because that was more important to you. You know, I could have
right.
all the money and I could do all the things, but I want to be present.
I want
I
to be
choose
present.
presence over, profit. I choose presence. I choose to be here. I choose to be at the school, to love on my kids, to tell them that they can do anything in the world, to be here and allow them to be in their emotions.
Right. Because we didn't go to Disneyland, but we
Yeah.
did go feed the ducks.
Yeah.
We didn't take family vacations. Now they understand that when you're making $17 an hour and you have childcare and you have three schools to be at as one person, now they understand the sacrifice that it took for me to
Right.
be at
Right.
those events or to get you to the college fairs. Because as you know, Nisi, one of the things that was different about my mother and me was that you knew that I had a mom,
She
but you
was
didn't
never
see her.
there. I will say this, and all with all due respect to Miss Val, we were in, like, if you just tuning in, Tanisha is one of the coldest singers that I know, and we were in a group together. We had a group called Rapture, and we would sing all over the place. And Tanisha was the lead singer. Tanisha was the feature, and everybody's parents would come to our engagements except Tanisha's. So how did that make you feel?
You know what? To be honest with you, in the moment, it I don't think that it really hurt much. And the reason it didn't hurt much is because again, I was raised not having presence.
Yeah,
I've had
you went
a
to church by yourself. You were always at church, but you were there by yourself. Like, you know what I'm saying? We would sing all over the place, you know.
well, even if you would pick me up, you were
I
picking
think
me up at an empty house.
yeah, yeah. Where was your mom at? She
I
was
was
working?
She was always working or doing a work related event or my mama poured herself. That's where
Mhm.
she found
That's
her
what
worth.
So for those of you guys who are just tuning in, Tanisha, good girlfriend. I've known her since, I don't know, we were 12 or something. We went to high school together. I worked with her mother in my early 20s at HP. Her mom, we worked in the C-suite. Her mom, was a brilliant businesswoman. And so her and I developed a relationship. We had an affinity for each other. She was one of my first mentors, beautiful, brilliant woman. Tanisha is one of my good closest girlfriends, and was just and I got the privilege to sit on the front row and just watch the journey of your life, because I've always stayed connected with Tanisha, always. Even when she went missing, trying to figure out where you was at, what you doing, where she at, what she doing. So I got I got to see the dynamic of this whole situation, which was very interesting, because on one hand you have your mom, who is this type A personality, very established, very astute, make money, wealthy. And then you have Tanisha, who was marching at the beat of her own drum. Tanisha and her dad, your dad, same way. Tanisha chose men that her parents didn't like. Tanisha chose to do things that her parents didn't like. And she ended up living a very different life than what she grew up with, just because she wanted to just strike out on her own and do the things that she wanted to do. And in return, you've had some hardships, obviously, because you refused to ask your
Hmm.
mama for anything.
Hmm.
Refused.
Well, not yes, I refused, and I refused early because my mother told me with the first child.
You ain't. It's not happening. So you wasn't even gonna
So
ask.
I knew that I was on my own. But when we look at it and we see that um, one decision begets another decision, right? We know that we're going to have to cover that decision, right? So in terms of trying to get help, there's a very different feeling when you are in a position where people can't help you, right? When you are the single mother that, I can't get my son a car. I'm making minimum wage, right? It's a very different feeling when you have a parent that could help you, that
And
chooses not to help you
doesn't.
because of the decision that you made,
How did
right?
how does that feel? How did that make you feel?
Um,
Were you resentful, or you were just like, well, this her money. I ain't nothing I could do. How did you feel?
I was raised knowing that this was not my money.
Mm,
And my mother and my father made that very, very clear. And
mm,
they also made it very clear that if you are not doing this, then help is not available to you.
mm,
So, because they didn't understand the nuances of single parenthood, because neither one of them have been a single parent,
mhm,
it didn't, the decisions that I had to make didn't make sense. So, from a very young single parenthood journey, I knew that I was not going to have the help that I would have had I not had kids. If I had gone to college, remember I went on the Black College tour. I was supposed to go to
remember,
Tuskegee.
always.
I was supposed to do all of that. And had that happened, then there would have been funds, right? But since that did not happen, the funds that were put aside for me, they're not going to be for diapers. Why would I do that? That was your decision to make.
Mm,
So this money that I could put aside for your house, I'm not going to do that because of the men that you're around.
mm,
I wouldn't want them to be in there.
mm,
Oh,
mm,
this car, I know that I like my mother. My mother worked from home before working from home was a thing, right? My mama has had a brand new car in her driveway the whole time. But I was taking 3 buses to work and back home in Las Vegas because my car broke down. These are
mm,
lessons.
mm,
So what ended up happening, no, I wasn't resentful, but I just knew inherently that I did not have that help. And when you know that you don't have the help, not because it's not there, but because they're not willing, it causes a different type of resilience. It causes a defiant resilience. So
mm.
now I could ask you, but I'm
I'm
not
not.
gonna now my I'm not going to because I'm not gonna deal with the aftermath of the asking. And so it caused a lot of situations where I felt resentment. Yes, it caused a lot of resentment later on with my children, I think, because they saw my parents or my mother as a savior of sorts because
Mm-hmm.
she would save them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and that used to cause resentment for me because now you're their savior and I'm over here working hard. I'm working at Yahoo and I'm paying this person to go pick this child up over here because I can't get off of work early enough and I'm doing all of these things, but yet you guys are the savior because you guys have the money. You guys can give them
Mm-hmm.
the fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I got to give them the needs,
Mm.
so that's where the resentment came in. Like, gosh, I want to be seen as the hero because I'm the one doing the work.
But your parents coming in and saving the day now, because with you, we had to struggle, mama. We had to struggle with you. We had to go without because you refused to help ask them, and we got rich grandparents over here. And so when we ask them for something, they deliver. But you over here doing all this hard work, and they like,
I want to be with my nanny.
yeah. So there's a big contrast because you lost your mom 6 months ago. And this is what I really and so thank you for sharing and the conversation because I think it really gives a lot of insight on where you are right now. Um, I know you've been really struggling with the passing of your mom, like really, really struggling. And there's just a lot of like, of course, regrets. But one thing is that your mom may not have taken care of you financially in life. She took care of you financially in death, like big
She
time,
did.
big time.
She did. She did. Her and my father made sure to put things in place for me. My home is in a trust, um, which you talk about a lot. I'm so
Mhm,
thankful for. Most of our assets are actually in a trust,
mhm,
and I was able to get the house that my parents had built here in Las Vegas after we moved from San Jose. And I was able to get the annuities that they had for me. Now, the situation with that though is one thing that I do want people to understand when it comes down to death is it is so important that these things be done beforehand because yes, we can talk about all of the emotional fallout. We can talk about um, how it affects us, but honestly, your feet have to keep moving no
mm,
matter how you feel about a thing. And this has been the cause of so much peace and also so much heartache because right now I'm in the house that my parents designed for me and my children to be in
mm,
because everyone has a place to be in. There's no reason for my parents to have this big old house, the
mhm,
two people, right?
mhm.
But they planned this for the estate for our family. And now I am reaping those benefits of being here, but also there is a huge, huge, huge cavern between what I have and what I know. Because what happens when you don't talk to your children,
Come
they don't
on.
know how to handle this.
Mm,
I didn't come from money.
mm,
The money was never mine.
mm.
So when you come from a two-bedroom apartment that you pay rent and you have a maintenance crew and all of your bills are just normal everyday bills, you don't know anything about home ownership.
Right.
You don't
And
know
then
anything
to put it in perspective, though, I asked Tanisha what her mortgage was, and I was like, "Oh, her mortgage is great." And I said, "Well, what was you paying in rent?" And you said, "I think you said 1275." I was like, "Where did you get an apartment for 1275? Where?" You said,
in the hood.
she said they were shooting every day.
Every
She said they
day.
were shooting. I feared for my life daily.
Yeah,
She said there was
crazy.
a man outside, a white man, and he looked like he worked in the coal mines.
Yeah, he was physically black. He was physically black.
So
And somebody had to tell me that he was actually Caucasian.
so you go from that. This is what I'm saying. Like you this is how you lived, right?
Mhm.
And now you go from that struggle.
To North Las Vegas, Aliante. Yeah, this is a different area. Aliante area is different.
Yeah,
And this is
yeah. I had the privilege about a week or so after her mom passed away, and again, and I was able to be with you, when your mom was going through it, and not physically there with you, but just talking to you on the phone and stuff. And then I was there in Vegas. I actually got to see how God lined things up. I had to speak in Vegas maybe a week or so later, so we got to spend some time together. I got to go to your mom's house, and it's a beautiful spread. And what Tanisha showed me was a big binder, and it was everything that her mom had, all the annuities, all the insurances, everything was in a binder, and you had a letter in there, and like everything was all set up, which was crazy. And I was like, wow, first of all, that's brilliant. But to go from that, where you had to fight for your life every day, to now literally you don't have to worry for the rest of your life. I mean, you still work and you still do all the things, but you are taken care of, you're set for the rest of your life. And so one of the
Mhm.
things I was saying is, like, especially after you get out of this, go and enjoy. Girl, go on a vacation. Do something for yourself.
I am going to. And like we
Please.
were talking about, n- I want to do that for this reason. If nobody else hears anything else, hear this. My mother invested the best years of her life into her job.
Mm,
My mother put all of her time and her effort into her job. So, what that means for me is my mother retired at 70.
mm.
And that was a late retirement because remember she did HP first
Oh, yeah.
and then
And then
she
she went
and
back.
then she and then she went back working.
Hmm.
My mother, she retired at 70 years old. My mother died at 72.
Wow.
My mother died at 72. You know how sad it makes me to know that, and keep in mind, this is after my father. My father had to retire at 68 because of back problems, and my father died at 70.
Mm.
They each spent 2 years of retirement miserable.
Miserable.
My dad was hurting. He had to
Mm.
retire because he hurt. He couldn't travel. What
Mm.
happened with that money? My
Mm.
mother was on oxygen
Yeah,
and
did she have
tied.
COPD?
She had COPD, but she ended up ultimately dying of stage 4 lung cancer, which
Mm.
we found out in the hospital on
Yes.
a Friday, and my mother passed that Wednesday, the next
Yes.
Wednesday.
Yes. And we
Um,
thought, oh, she's coming home. She thought she was coming home. We thought she had more time.
everybody,
Yeah.
she thought she had more time. And
Yeah.
I even have the video of her saying she thought she had more time. But
I saw. I know. I
enjoy
know.
your life, like enjoy your money. And help when you can. Not don't be frivolous, be wise with your money, but
Enjoy. Yeah.
understand that none of this goes with you.
None of it.
My parents, I'm 48 years old and I am blessedly living in this beautiful home that I get to enjoy. But my parents were in their 50s and already hurting by the time they were finishing up and being able to have all of this. Don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. There was also some things that were missed though. I mean, she had everything set up. She had the annuities, but you still got to go to probate.
I still have to go to probate. Two of the annuities were still in my father's name. So one of the most important things when somebody passes is you have to make sure, even with your employers, with everything that you have, all of your assets, please, you have to report that. You have to change your update your beneficiaries. I do this all the time. Actually, now that I came back from leave and I'm working again, same thing. I went immediately into my portal, immediately looking into my beneficiaries for my life insurance. Like even when it comes down to new investments that I have, I have a financial advisor now. I have an attorney now. Um, um, I have people
Yeah,
because you
Tanisha
need
got
people.
people. Tanisha got people. What?
I have people. But the problem with that is that I wasn't told.
Mm,
The only reason that I'm able to even be in this house right now comfortably is because I knew inherently, first of all, you're never going to live anywhere for free. So some like, is this house paid off? Like asking the questions that you need to ask and then doing the research to find those answers. It can be intimidating, but you have to do that. You have to talk to your family. We have this problem. I used to be a property manager for a senior um, property for 6 years. I was working with seniors in low income housing. And one of the things that I learned there is that, for one, if it's not disclosed, baby,
it don't exist.
it don't exist.
Hmm.
It absolutely doesn't exist. There's nothing you could. How many of us say, I know Granny left me something. I know such and such left me something. Do you know that nobody contacts you about anything about the deceased? I didn't know that. Had no idea because I wasn't spoken to about it. My mother has been in investment clubs since I was young, since little. And when you don't have money, money doesn't interest you like that. Growing money is not a conversation that you have when you don't have money.
Right.
And ironically, that meant to me because my mom never had these money conversations that maybe she never expected me to have money.
Maybe not. There are a
So
lot.
when you don't plan, that's what happens. I could have lost all of this
Yeah. Yeah.
if I had not known where to find stuff or just think about there's got to be something. And I saw in one of your previous podcasts that you were mentioning, about the property taxes and things like that. People talk about property taxes and all that other stuff. You have to actively seek that information.
That's crazy.
Grief is not an excuse.
And I know that you said like her bank accounts got you lost access to the bank accounts, which were paying some of the bills automatically. Like all of that stuff happens because there was no beneficiary on the bank account. So she may have had the annuities, the houses in the trust, the life insurance. Were you the beneficiary on that?
Life insurance, I was the beneficiary. She had two life insurance policies, but the problem with one of those is, again, my dad was named, and my dad preceded her in death.
So what happens with
So what happens when somebody precedes you in death with life insurance, if it's not the spouse, then you have to prove your relationship. And I'm telling you, it is it's extremely taxing emotionally
mm,
because you have to dig.
mm.
And
And-
what are we famous for? We're famous for not wanting to dig. Like, you can't talk to me about our skeletons. You can't talk to me. Don't ask me about how much I have in my account or my mortgage or who's on my accounts. We don't want to talk about it
but that's the thing though. Your mom, for the most part, had her affairs in order.
for the most
Most of
part.
us don't.
Right.
So imagine how hard it is for you. And your mom has all these things going on. And I remember when I was there, you were like, there's annuities that you guys are actually even looking for that, you guys got to find. A lot of people have life insurance and they don't know. They're like, oh, my mama said she had life insurance, but she didn't tell me where it was. I have no idea how to get it. I don't know what to do. I don't know. That's the case with a lot of people. Is they may have life insurance if they do. Hopefully you do, but then you haven't told anybody how to get it. My mama always tells me, "Listen, something ever happened to me, this is where my shit is."
That's what I love about OZ. She gonna tell it like it is.
She
My
gonna keep
mother was
it.
very, very refined. And my mother was very private. And in that aspect, so am I,
Mm.
which is why I don't have like a huge social media presence. I like
Don't get back
literally,
on
if you're not
Facebook and
my
quit playing.
real friend,
Get
if
back
you're not
on
my
Facebook
real
and quit
friend,
playing. Get back on Facebook. Stop it.
no, nah. No, if you know me, you call me.
And you don't
That's
want
how
to
I
answer the
feel.
phone. You don't want to talk on the phone that much. So
True, 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 true. So just text and we'll
right,
see.
right, right,
Um, but honestly, it's because we're not having those conversations in real time that people don't know that death is more than emotionally devastating.
right.
Even
Ooh,
when you have assets, because having an asset means nothing without access to that asset. So things like, because I'm a banker, I'm understanding the difference of titling. I'm understanding why it's so important to have a POD. If you don't trust people in your family, get a POD. That's payable on death, right? They don't have any access to your accounts unless you are either incapacitated or you are deceased.
mm,
This makes your funds available for your family to keep your estate going. And keep in mind, when I say an estate, that could be your apartment. Like
right,
this is where you're at. Because the
right,
truth of the matter is had I not been in a position to research, because you still got to find the binder.
right, right.
My mother had a binder that said, in the event of my demise, contact such and such. And it was this big and it had a living trust and it had everything in it, right?
Hmm.
You have to find it though.
Right.
What if we all have this conversation with our children, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
the older folks, listen, they're keeping stuff under their mattresses. They got
Amen.
stuff in Ray Ray name. I got a $2,000 insurance policy from 1985 from my granny right now. Here's the thing though. If you're not talking about it and you don't know where it is not accessible and it means nothing at all to you. And
Absolutely.
now I am understanding with me collecting all of these things that you know what? I There's no button that says Val is deceased and now everybody that has money from Val everybody come to the table.
Right. Right. Ain't nobody looking for you to pay
Only
you.
creditors.
Ex-
Only
Ain't nobody
creditors.
looking for you to pay you. Nobody's looking to pay you. And that's the other thing about being in probate. One of the things I told Tanisha when she said that the annuities had to go through probate, I said, make sure you put it in a small paper. She said, it's in the penny saver.
It's in a mini favor. And that's what I love about my attorney. My attorney, what he told me straight up, listen, we're not going to do this. He advised me, pay all those little things off, those little things that you do know about, because they come against the estate,
Hmm.
not me personally. They come against my estate. Now this is my livelihood. This
Hmm.
is this is what I have to work for and make sure that everything is in good standing. And
So
that means cars, like titles to cars. I'm telling you, our people, we don't keep
talk about that,
in.
Tanisha, because I didn't even know about the type. Like, okay, how many cars did your mom have?
We had three cars that needed to be allocated outside of my own car. So keep in mind when we're dealing with other stuff, this is outside of you. So these are also being made as assets to you. These are my cars now that I can't do anything with because they're not in my name.
So what do you do?
So so now you've got to find the paperwork. Now we're dealing with DMV, and I don't mean DMV area. I mean that ugly department of motor vehicles, okay? And when you have to do that, when you have to bring death certificates and then they don't tell you all of the stuff, you got to have notarized information about changing in titles. You can't even get a duplicate. Did you know you can't even get a duplicate car title if the person is deceased?
Wow.
See,
Wow.
again, things nobody would have ever known because you're not in this situation. I
Yeah.
couldn't even get rid of the car
So
that
you
I
couldn't get
had
rid
in
of
my
that, nor
driveway.
could you get it registered?
I couldn't get it registered. It hadn't worked in 5 years since my dad. We were saving the car for my son, but we didn't have the money all at once to fix the car. So it was in
Mm,
the driveway. Well, the registration ran out in between my mom passing.
mm,
So we get a notice from the HOA, hey, you have an unregistered vehicle. Well, the car doesn't move.
mm.
I can't put it in and I can't take it to a mechanic because nobody will pick it up. They won't, tow trucks won't even move anything without paperwork. That's where I ended up having to go to DMV. I had to get the car put in my name before I could even get somebody to haul the car off. Because you can't sell a car without a title. And keep
Right.
in mind, you can in the state of Nevada sell a car without a title. However, whatever comes with that, you're liable for. So there would be no way that I would do that knowing that my estate is at danger.
Wow. Wow.
Nobody nobody told me this. I don't
And
have
when
any
we
guide.
and when we talk about probate, what I when I mentioned putting in the paper. So what happens when you have to go through probate? Part of this timely process is that when you have an estate, you gotta put it in the newspaper, and this gives
Mhm.
creditors the opportunity to say, "Oh, this person owes me money," and
She
the
owes
creditors
me.
come after, come to collect their money, and then you get whatever's left over after the creditor. And so that's how probate works. But more importantly, like you just said, Tanisha, the biggest thing is we are not having these conversations with our families, with our children. Because again, it's not a matter of if we're gonna die, it's a matter of when. And we don't, 99% of us don't know the day or the hour. We just do not know. And even somebody who has everything together, because I heard you say your mama had a pour over will, she had a power of attorney, she
All of
had
it.
medical directives, like she had everything, but there were still some things that were not covered.
Well, and that's also because things are so scattered. So keep in mind, we always want to diversify. That's the big talk right now. We want to diversify. We want to have our money here and there, make sure it's not all in one place. Well, when you do that, let me tell you what happens to the people that are left. $2,000 right here, and me having to go through 45 days to get this $2,000 that you put in 10 different places. I I love the thought, like the thought is cute, but listen, it's it's counterproductive when most of the things in life right now require large lump sums.
Hmm.
So if you are constantly putting, I'm gonna put 5,000 over here. Let's just leave that here, and then now you've left a breadcrumb trail to more breadcrumbs
Mm.
that we gotta wait years to piece together. Because now once I get this little piece of this $2,000 over here and then this 3,800 over here, then let's hope that I put it into something that's to hold it so I can come up with the whole 10 racks that I need for the back taxes that I owe. You see what I'm saying?
It's a
It's
lot.
we got to have this conversation. We have to have the conversation. I decided, even like I've carried life insurance since I was 30. And the reason I carry life insurance when nobody else was even thinking about it is because I worked with seniors. And
Mm.
seniors made sure to tell me, you need to make sure to do this. But you know what I also found out when my mother passed? That she had several different life insurances. And some of
Mm.
them had death benefits. And some of them had uh, clauses in there for tobacco or for cancer. You have to look. This stuff is not just no-brainers. You have to actually know what you have, what you signed up for, and what you're passing along to your family. Because guess what? When my former partner was murdered, his mother, and I love her so much, his mother had been paying his life insurance for years. Keep in mind, they're from New Orleans, went through Katrina, went through all of that. He had a hard life, come from a hard background, not because he had to, but because, like me, he chose to.
Mm-hmm.
And so she kept that on him. Well, guess what? Because of his manner of death, that life insurance was not paid out.
Ooh, yikes.
So when we talk about the importance of it, it's not for the living.
Right,
Your life insurance is not for you because
right.
you can act and you can say to yourself, hey, you know what? I don't really care what happens to me. It's just the body or whatever. Y'all could put me in a pine box. Nisi, I told you this before. I have, I hate to say it this way, I've buried so many people that I now have, I'm on a list for Titan caskets. I have pre-planning discounts for funerals. I get discounts on caskets.
Mm,
You know why? Because even a pine box will cost you 1,300. Even a pine box. This is what our people don't understand. It's gonna be left to somebody,
right. Somebody got to pay for it.
or your loved one just sits there in the freezer and the body goes uncollected.
Damn.
This is why we do fish fries. People don't understand that. I didn't know that you have to have the money prior
Oh, they're
to
not.
the funeral.
I've seen many funeral parlors, funeral people, conductors that will stop before they bring the body inside the church and say, "Look, you owe us another $1,500, $3,000, and we're not doing this funeral until you pay us." Held the people hostage on the way in. I know. I see you looking at your thing. I know you got to get to work, don't you?
I do.
This is such a timely conversation, Tanisha. Because let me tell you, for me personally, while I talk about all of this stuff, I have all the stuff, right? I have everything, all my affairs in order. I have the binder. What I haven't
Hmm.
had is the conversation. I haven't had the conversation.
Got you.
I haven't had the conversation.
And guess what? Have the conversation with all the
Yeah,
children,
yeah,
young and old, and
yeah.
have the conversation with your siblings. Because here's the
Mm,
here's the thing. Remember this. Remember, your children are left to your family when you're
right,
gone. I
right,
was left to my mother's family.
right.
And I'm not saying that they weren't great, but have the conversation with people outside of your household so that they
Mm,
also understand what is supposed to happen.
mm. Wow. Somebody wants you to sing before we leave.
Oh no, I won't be doing that just right now. I'm sorry.
Let me tell you this because she had her best friend worked for was Renell's niece at KMEL in San
Okay.
Francisco. She got access to all kind of people, and they would be like, "Tanisha, sing," and she could have had record deals and shit, and she would never. She'd always be too scared.
Girl, could you imagine me I would have been canceled so long ago. They would have been canceled me long before all these other people. You know me. The way I live my life, they'd have been like,
Just
dude,
a
have you
few quick
seen this
bars,
goddamn?
a few quick bars, a few quick bars. Dick, come on. I'll sing. You ready? I'm gonna start. I'm just kidding.
No.
They were always jealous of my vocals. So, I mean, it is what it is. But this was such a great conversation. I listen, having this it was eye-opening for me today too. And I do have a book. Y'all know. Get your
Hmm.
affairs in order. When we were talking last week, you talked about the pour over will, you talked about the medical directive, you talked about the trust, the
Yes.
will, you talked about the power of attorney. All of that is in here. I don't know if y'all got it, but go get this book and get your affairs in order. But the biggest thing that I've learned from this conversation is not only get your affairs in order, but have the conversation with your kids. Have
Please.
conversation with your.
Continuously talk to your kids, even if you're mad at them.
Yeah, have the conversation.
Understand that.
Wow, that right there. Like, I mean, that's so you think that that's so small, but that's actually huge. You might get the books on on my site. Go to my site. Go to books. You can get. Oh, we got something going on in the background. Hey, hello.
Sorry,
Is this?
we're getting dogs out of here for me to work.
Oh, okay. Is that your boyfriend?
Yeah, he's
I've
up
never
there.
met him. Hi.
Hello there. He can't hear you.
Okay. Go to Const. Okay. Go to Constance Carter. Oh, not Constance. Not Constance Carter. Go to ConstanceCarter.com and you guys can pick up my books. Get the Living Trust book so that you can at least get started. And you have a personal information organizer. So in that personal information organizer, everything that you have, everything that you need, you could put it all in one place. Your bank accounts, your all your passwords, like everything. Go and pick up the book. But the other thing too is have the conversation with your kids. Have the conversation with your kids.
Mute everything.
Yeah, man, that's pretty deep. Also, I'm doing a training on Thursday. It's for Black women. It's for what's next for Black women. So, you guys, Thursday at 7 o'clock, I think. I'm doing a training, and a few years ago, I moved to the East Coast. Tanisha was one of my friends that I consulted with when I talked about moving. And I picked up, and I was in a crossroads in my life of what I wanted to do next. Like Tanisha, when you moved to Houston, you picked up picked your kids up, and you ended up moving. I did the same thing, and I had to decide in that moment what was next for me, what was the next chapter for me. And I did a lot of things, did a lot of soul searching, and planned a lot. And I started coaching Black women, but there are a lot of people who are in this transitional period where for them, what's next? They don't know. Maybe they've gone through a divorce. Maybe they've lost their job. Maybe they want to start a business. Maybe whatever it is, you are in this transition, you're in this crossroads, and you are trying to figure out what is next for your life. We're going to talk about it next Thursday. So make sure you go to my website, ConstanceCarter.com. Select live events. And this is this Thursday night at 7 o'clock. And we're going to talk about what's next. And I'm going to give you guys some ideas, and we're going to brainstorm. All right. So go to ConstanceCarter.com and go to live events. Tanisha, oh my God, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you for your openness and your vulnerability, sharing your life and your parents. This was so easy. You're so easy to talk to, and you're so brilliant. She really is. Like, she's really one of the smartest people I know. And if you're just tuning in, I was saying in the beginning that Tanisha, I grew up with Tanisha. We've been friends. She's one of my oldest and closest friends. And one of the things about Tanisha is she's always been extremely smart, and she's a reader. So when I would talk to her, I would remember the things that she said. She's still on, but it looked like her device disconnected. I will remember the things she said, and then I will go home and I will look up these words on the in the dictionary, because she had such an extensive vocabulary, and I absolutely loved it. So she's had this very interesting life, but here she is now, able to stand on top of that, and just still dealing with the grief, really, really, really terrible grief of her mother. She called me last week, and she was just distraught. There she is. You back? I'm gonna let you go, Tanisha. Can you
I
hear?
can't hear you, girl. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now? 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 So anyway, she's been going through it, but the learning that she had, and I was like, as she was telling me about all the things, dang it, as she was telling me about all the things that she was dealing with, I was like, this is great learning, because so many people, if they are not going through this, they may end up going through this, and they need to learn from this. And this was just a great conversation. So hopefully you guys learned something. Get your affairs in order. Set up not just a will, because a will can be contested. It will go, your property, your estate will go on a probate. So set up a living trust. Get your personal organizer together so that people could know where all your stuff is. But most importantly, have the conversations with your family. All right. Love y'all. See y'all tomorrow. Oh, tomorrow. I think we have. Oh, we have tomorrow gym masterclass tomorrow. Go to gymmasterclass.com. I don't know what I'm teaching tomorrow. I forgot. I teach something tomorrow. You know, tomorrow on Tuesdays I teach a free free training on the Grow Your Money Club. So go to gymmasterclass.com to see what I'm teaching, but it's going to be tomorrow at 12. So I don't come live, but I will be teaching a training. I forget what it's going to be about tomorrow. All right. See y'all. Love y'all. Peace.